Hello. So right now I'm at work and I'm on my lunch break.
Lunchtime protein bar. Yay.
I figured I would do a quick NaNoWriMo update from my car while I was wearing makeup and didn't have to set up my film equipment. And I haven't really had a chance on the channel to talk about NaNoWriMo and how NaNoWriMo went. So I figured I would just provide everybody with a quick little update. I'm just gonna prop my camera up a little more. There we go. I had a really hard time with it. In a way that I haven't with a lot of my previous projects. So the project that I'm working on is called Artificial. I had this idea in my head for quite a long time. It was supposed to be a series of short stories. It was kind of my initial idea that I was maybe going to release on Wattpad. And I really liked the world and the characters a lot, so I decided to try to retool it into a novel, which I thought was going to be an easy transition, and it was not. Because with the series of short stories, I had different characters that would come into each of the short stories, and each story would feature a slightly different cast. And that was kind of lost in a novel. You have to either figure out how to wind all those characters into the story, or you have to cut the characters completely and maybe just save them for a sequel. And so I really had a hard time deciding what this story was going to be about and how I was going to weave together these characters' individual lives. And I really did spend quite a bit of time outlining. I didn't get to spend as much time as I'd liked. So during October, I would say about the second half of the month was really when I buckled down and started outlining. Because the first half of the month, I was trying to finish the draft of the Nightmare Initiative that I had been working on, because I was halfway through draft 3 and I really just wanted to finish it. So I spent 2 weeks, focused really hardcore, finished that draft, so that way I could focus on NaNoWriMo. So then NaNoWriMo came around and I did have a decent outline. I really thought I had it together pretty well, and I thought I knew what I was doing, and I had character biographies. I really had everything set up, and just everything went crazy. As I was working on the draft, I just started having ideas, so I had to like roll with those ideas. I got through my outline, I would say maybe about 3 weeks in, which left me a week without an outline. Like, I got through the entire plot that I had planned, and I still had like an extra 10,000 words. Actually, I think it might have been more than that. It might have been more like 15,000 words. And I didn't have anything planned for those words, and I didn't know what to do. It was so stressful. I don't know. It did not go as I was expecting, unfortunately. But it still did work out, because I did get a lot of ideas for that project, but the draft is such a mess that I think I would probably just have to do it again as a fresh project in the future. But I did get a lot of ideas of like things that I want to happen and how I want it to be structured, and characters and situations. I think I really just need to sit down and go through all those ideas that came to me during NaNoWriMo and work them into a coherent draft. I also had a hard time during NaNoWriMo because November was just a hard month in general for everyone, I think. You know, we had the election, and I'm going to put my stats on the screen here, but you could see where the election was. There was a huge drop in words. Like, around the time of the election, I was doing okay. The day of the election, I had actually gotten my word count done. And then as results just continued to not come in and states were delayed, I really started to get very stressed out, and my productivity just dipped. I'm not going to be that hard on myself, though. You know, even though this NaNoWriMo didn't go the way I wanted, I still did finish it. And I finished it in probably one of the hardest years that I can remember our country ever going through. And it was rough. It was a rough year for me. It was a rough year for you guys. It was a rough year for literally everyone. And I think right now we don't need to beat ourselves up about if we didn't do things as perfectly as we wanted to. I think right now is the time for reflection and being with family and friends and just trying to process everything that's happened. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm just going to focus on the positives. At the end of the month, you know what? I had a very messy draft that didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I still had a draft. That draft was still done, and I think that is the important thing. I'm not going to go back through that draft right now. I think it needs some time to just percolate and marinate. I don't know why I'm doing that with my hands. I am going to go back to a different project. I'm not going to go back to Nightmare Initiative right away. I think I'm going to work on Legendary, which I had been working on earlier in the year. If you guys remember from my vlogs, I was really struggling with that project because I actually had a similar situation to this one where I had an idea that changed the entire draft of the story, unfortunately. And I had to rework it, and I wasn't quite sure how to work certain things out, so I had just let it cool for a while. I haven't been back to that project since, I would say, maybe like April, May, and now I reread the drafts that I had been working on last, and I actually think it's pretty solid. It's more solid than I remembered. And there were things that definitely needed to change, but reading it over again, I can see very clearly what needed to change. And more importantly, I could see how it needed to change. And that is something that I am really grateful for because sometimes you just need that distance, you just need that space, and then the answers will come to you. I reworked the outline for Legendary, that's what I spent the last week or two doing, and now I'm going back chapter by chapter, adding new scenes where there needs to be new scenes, rewriting stuff that needs to be rewritten, and I think I will have a pretty strong, solid draft by the end of this. So after that, I'll probably do one more really solid draft of that project where I just focus on description and the pacing and the dialogue, rather than just focusing on the plot. And then I'll probably put that aside for a little bit, go back to Nightmare Initiative, do another draft or two of that, and then at that point, I'll have 2 drafts that are in decent shape, and I think they will be ready for critiquing. And then after I get critiques from other people, depending on how extensive those are, which I would imagine might be quite extensive in some cases, then at that point, I might be able to start querying. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be next year or not, but it's seeming like it though, because it's seeming like these drafts are closer than they've ever gotten to completed drafts. So, I mean, querying doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that it's going to get published. It doesn't even mean that people will even like those projects, but it does mean that I can at least start doing research on agents and publishing, and I can share that part of the journey with you guys as I search and try to figure out what I'm doing, even though I don't know what I'm doing. But that's it. That's my short nano update, and I'll be back with some more videos. I have the December box for Unplugged Book Box, and I also want to do a winter reading wrap up, or I might just do maybe a 2020 reading wrap up. I haven't decided yet. And then I also have some tech videos coming out too. So keep an eye out for those, and we will see what next year holds for us. Thank you guys for watching, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.